Based upon my first experience engaging my interest level for Exile on its first single release, my expectations are up really high. Freedom is Dead, a real hard hitter in my opinion, more than delivered on a multitude of levels. I mean, granted, maybe my overall satisfaction for the track is amplified and compounded not just by the overall talent of the piece, but the fact that we haven't had any new music from this band in what feels like in a millennium. Granted, it's only been about 3 years, but we have lived in the age of delays for artists across the board, so this isn't Demon Hunter's fault, but it's just been a while waiting. So I'm just finally happy that we're getting something new. And again, like I said, Freedom is Dead, which was a great song and a phenomenal video, too, in my opinion, to accompany that. It's really, I think gauged, not only, again, that can be expected because this is Demon Hunter we're talking about, but the track, in my opinion, just more been delivered. So much so, every time it comes to my playlist now, I keep finding myself hitting the rewind button just automatically. It's just a phenomenally structured track, and it really highlights the strengths of the band in regards to being such a staple within the metal world very well. For those of you who this video might serve as a first introduction for Demon Hunter, I hope to provide a window into what I've enjoyed about them through this video for the last 12 years. That's how long I've been a fan. Although they've been around for longer, I believe 20 years, but this is their 11th album at this point. They are, as I said, staples within the metal genre, specifically within Christian metal. They're very widely known and revered, and I've really come to appreciate their music over the many years I've listened to them. In fact, they have been such a staple of mine that they keep finding their way up to the top of my playlist, with, some other groups as well, kind of vying for that spot. But I've always loved this group, from their music to the overall lyrics and the visions of their pieces. They really have stuck with me, as a lot of music has. And I love covering music on this channel as well. I love being able to give windows into music that has been such a vital part of my life for a very long time, Demon Hunter being one of those groups. Music for me has been an art form, I've talked about this previously, that I've always wanted to spotlight, especially on this channel. And I had been really considering it in the earlier years. I just hadn't gotten around to doing it yet. For those of you more familiar with my work, I tend to cover a wide variety of art forms, but more so stuff within the visual space. So like movies, television, gaming, for example. Those are particular entertainment ventures I'm more focused on than I have been with music. But music for me has been, again, such an intrinsic part of my journey over the last 24 years I've been alive. It's been a first love in many ways. And every art form is distinct, but I've really loved music, and not just what it's done for me, just, as a person, and just being able to resonate with other people out there, and the expressiveness and creativity in resonant themes that other people experience through the craftsmanship of music, but also just experience beautiful works and to be entertained and impressed. I love to spotlight art forms like that, especially artists out there that I think are super talented, and maybe their work is not necessarily as widely known. Some artists I cover on this channel perhaps maybe don't necessarily have the widely known name that Demon Hunter does, but I love to cover art wherever I see strength and beauty. And I find a lot of that with Demon Hunter. And I'm more excited for new stuff. Even though on this particular track, there's a lot of firsts here for me. I, of course, am familiar with Demon Hunter, but I haven't looked at the lyrics as much in depth. I tend to float around of how I approach some of these tracks. And when I do music coverage, sometimes I look at the lyrics in advance. Other times, I'll look more into the artist's vision. I haven't done that for this particular one, so maybe some elements will stand out, maybe others won't. Usually I go into it just knowing that the tune is a fresh listen, but I have given a bit of a preliminary look into the song. I'm going into this completely fresh. Also, I'm not familiar with Tom S. Englund, who's featured on this track as a collaborator. I did see he's Swedish, and though I do happen to be familiar with some groups out there that are Swedish in origin, I've never come across Tom S. Englund's work. So again, like I said, a lot of firsts with this video, but based upon Freedom is Dead and my familiarity of Demon Hunter, I'm sure it'll be another hard hitter. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the track, and we can get a good introduction together with Silence the World and hear another element of Exile come to life, and just get, again, the experience of listening to Demon Hunter on this channel. It was fun the first time, and I can't wait to relive that again. All right, let me get this pulled up, and we can get introduced to Silence the World. It's kind of an ominous name, but let's see. Or let's hear it. And of course, I have the lyrics pulled up for your convenience as well, if you want to choose to read along with what they're saying. I think this is track 3 on the album as well. So it's relatively early on. It's a bit of a Stranger Things opening, isn't it? Just sounds that way. Softer. I like it, though. Maybe this is more along the lines of peace. I mean, Freedom is Dead is really heavy, so maybe we're going winding back here a bit. But it's still got that more aggressive side. It's a good opening, an extensive opening, but a good one. Maybe for some of you newbies, you're like, can he sing beyond screaming? Yes. See, he's got a super talented voice. I mean, this is highly stressed on peace. And war, to be fair. To different degrees. That's good. I can hear that European accent slightly in there. It's visible. Or audible, I guess. I wonder if we can do a duet together, because I kind of hear it sounds like it jumps from one artist to the other. Not a bad entrance. Really has that ballad edge. Okay, maybe this is more along the lines of War. I mean, War had softer stuff, but I just heard that growl. But War was the more aggressive edge, but it had a couple softer songs. Or maybe it's like a happy medium between the two. I'm really digging the measure here. I mean, it's consistent among the majority of the track, but it's nice. It really does sound like Demon Hunter. Even if it does significantly depart from their more established aggressive metal edge. it's funny, one minute you're saying, like, you hear Ryan, the frontman, sing, for those who are not familiar, singing more from a screaming position, but then you go like the softer ballad. It's such a dramatic shift, but he's like, again, wide range obviously, but he's talented in both spaces. So it's kind of wrong that I'm saying it being like, yeah, notable screamer. I found his voice very soothing. Probably most people will be like, what? I really like how they mix the screams in here too. It's perfect placement. That's a good mix. It would have been kind of interesting to see how their voices overlap in the entirety of the track, but it's fine. They reserve that for the end, and I think it works to have the ballad and the screaming accompaniment. There's about 20 seconds to go. I keep waiting for the wind down. Like, we're kind of getting there. There we go. I was curious to hear if there's going to be another introduction. Like I noted with Freedom is Dead, and I did forget to mention this on the introduction. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this album, and this is a first impression, Demon Hunter's doing something very original here, as I stated as well with War and Peace. Solid releases, but they did set precedent, however many years ago that was, with putting a dual release up of 20 tracks in total. 22 if you bought the deluxe edition. I was under the impression when I first covered this that they were doing the same thing, because as I expressed, you've set a high line for yourself now in anticipation of, we haven't had Demon Hunter in 3 years. Are you going to meet us with 20 tracks? I thought it was 20 tracks, and I said as much. I think I mixed up the numbers, that they've been around for 20 years, when in reality, that's what 20 was registered to, but I said 20 tracks in total with the 2 extra bonus tracks you pre-order of a deluxe edition. It's actually 12 in total, which makes sense. Again, that's the average of many groups, and Demon Hunter in particular. They tend to stick with 12 and 2 bonus tracks. It's been their mainstay of their previous releases. It is slightly, I'm like, well, I kind of like the 20 track idea, but fine. I'll forgive it. We're returning back here, but it is also very fresh, this go round with Demon Hunter, in that it's a conceptual album. So in many ways, they've adventured beyond some of the familiar of what they've done in the past, which has been fine, but it's interesting to see a very fresh experimentation here. And if you buy the deluxe edition, or maybe you can just buy it separately, you get the comic book accompanying this. Apparently is complementing the song structure in Exile, considering it is a conceptual album, and there's this whole storyline they've mapped out on their website. So I listened to this, and at the same time I'm hearing a very soft song, again, peace energy, very ballad heavy, with the screaming mixture. That was well woven in my opinion. I'm kind of trying to decipher what's the storyline here, and granted I'm operating from only 2 entries and chapters within this story, given Freedom is Dead released previously, and that's track 6, this is track 3, so this is a lot earlier on. And you're kind of operating from the perspective of, well, I don't have all the story details, but I'll go with what I can. It seems like a very solemn piece, but it's a beautiful song to listen to. And like I said, for those of you who might be, it is funny to describe Ryan Clark, especially thinking years back to the way Demon Hunter first established themselves with the screaming edge and where they've been so known for. It's like, you describe it as soothing, and probably for any newcomer, it's like, what? Maybe listens to First Impression. Well, he does a mixture in terms of his vocality and his range. Peace was evidence of this. I haven't listened to the album in its entirety, but their last release, Songs of Death and Resurrection, I did listen to the exclusive on that track, Praise the Void. And that was a beautiful track to listen to. Again, I will say this, because I did forget about this until a moment ago, but Ryan does have a really extensive range. He did this partner project with the frontman, I forget his name, for Project 86, Knives. That was good too. That was more electronic as well. It was a major deviation. Well, it was a bit of a deviation from what Demon Hunter has been established to be, but it was fine. But Ryan is very talented, and the soothing ballad sound of the song, it's not something I'm exactly used to yet, but because I do like the top listens from this band on my playlist happen to be the more harder stuff, but I do enjoy it, and I think this was a good blend. I think this other artist too, Tom S. Englund, again, I never heard him before. I can hear the European accent, but it's good. Good singer. I would have liked to hear maybe a bit more of a blend between the two singing together, maybe with a scream. Although I like how that was reserved to the end. Like it was a nice tease, I guess, into what that could have looked like earlier on. But I think it's excellent. It's a beautiful track to listen to. It's much softer than Silence the World. So it is, again, then Freedom is Dead. So it's a dramatic shift. Especially where you think of it, maybe for a first impression, you're like, well, this is like going to be a really hard album. Well, it's going to play around with style a bit, right? Obviously. But I think it's still satisfactory, and I'm still definitely excited for Exile nonetheless. I'm looking forward to it. I still have to order the deluxe edition, and I would recommend that, considering that's where the 2 bonus tracks will be. I don't think you can get those. I'm assuming they won't sell digitally. Like, the last couple albums haven't done that either. You have to buy the deluxe to get those exclusive tracks, and the exclusive tracks in the last couple albums have been great. What are your guys' thoughts of Exile? I'd be curious to hear, especially from people who perhaps this is a first-time listen for you from Demon Hunter, what is your overall first impression? Or for long-time listeners, does this still amplify your expectations? Maybe you're like me, you're kind of like, I prefer the harder style, but maybe you're less forgiving than I am, because I'm like, well, I do like the mixture, and really anything from Demon Hunter, I go in knowing these guys are super talented. There's a reason that they're so revered, being around for 20 years, and they built up an audience for themselves through very successful pieces of work. I'd be curious to hear what angle you come from, as well as your overall thoughts on this track, and maybe Exile going forward down below. But I think it's a good track, again, more like ballad, peace energy, but good. Good. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.